They invited 40 people to mourn me while I was still alive. My children said the funeral was meant to make me face the truth about my failing memory. But hidden beneath their concern was another story, one my family had buried for 26 years. The first person who offered me condolences was my old neighbor, Mrs. Donnelly. She came toward me with both hands extended, her face arranged into the careful sorrow people wear when they are afraid grief might be contagious. "Oh, Renee," she whispered. "She would have been so proud of you." For a moment, I thought I had misheard her. The living room was crowded. Soft piano music drifted from a speaker hidden somewhere near the fireplace. White candles flickered across every flat surface. Enlarged photographs of me stood on black easels between bowls of pale roses. Me at 23 in my courthouse internship badge. Me holding Lydia after she was born. Me beside my late husband Daniel at our 25th anniversary dinner. Me kneeling in the garden with my younger children, Aaron and Claire, both of them grinning through missing front teeth. Every picture had a small card beneath it. Renee before the confusion. Renee when she still traveled. Renee as we want to remember her. Mrs. Donnelly squeezed my fingers. "She would have been proud," she repeated. "I'm standing right here." Her expression collapsed. Not dramatically, just enough for me to see fear replace sympathy. Her eyes darted over my shoulder toward my daughter Lydia. That was the first moment I understood the event was not merely insulting. It was organized. Lydia crossed the room before Mrs. Donnelly could answer. My oldest daughter was 35 and had been a litigation attorney long enough to turn concern into evidence. Her dark hair was pinned neatly at the base of her neck. She wore a navy dress, low heels, and the expression she used when a witness had said something unfortunate in front of a jury. "Mom," she said quietly, "you came. You sent me an invitation. I wasn't sure you would remember." The words were soft. That made them worse. I looked past her. My sister Colleen stood near the dining room doorway, holding a glass of wine she was not drinking. Aaron was beside the fireplace, hands buried in his pockets. Claire sat on the couch with swollen eyes. Nobody smiled. Nobody appeared surprised to see me alive at my own funeral. "What is this?" I asked. Lydia drew in a slow breath. "We're calling it a living remembrance. I can read the cards. Then you understand." "I understand that someone printed my face at poster size." Claire stood. "Mom, please don't turn this into a fight." I looked at my youngest child. Claire had always cried before telling the truth. Even as a little girl, her eyes warned me several seconds before her mouth did. "What would you prefer I turn it into?" She pressed her lips together. Aaron looked at the floor. Lydia remained steady. "This is not about death," she said. "It's about transition." "Whose?" "Yours." Around us, people pretended not to listen. They lifted cups to their mouths, examined photographs, smoothed napkins that did not need smoothing. I had spent 3 decades inside courtrooms. I knew the sound of a room deciding which version of a woman to believe. It sounded exactly like silence. Lydia touched my elbow. "We should speak privately." I looked down at her hand. She removed it. "Anything you need to say," I told her. "You can say in front of the people invited to mourn me." Several guests turned away. Lydia's jaw tightened. "All right." She moved toward the fireplace. A small wooden podium stood beside it. I had not noticed it when I entered. Of course there was a podium. Lydia stepped behind it and lowered the music from her phone. The room became completely still. "My mother is here," she said. A few people looked at me uncertainly, as if applause might be inappropriate. Lydia continued. "We hoped she would be." That sentence settled over me like dirt. She looked down at the cards in front of her. This gathering is not meant to humiliate anyone. It is meant to allow our family to acknowledge what is happening before a crisis forces us to. What exactly is happening? I asked. Lydia looked at me. You missed Claire's son's birthday twice. It was moved. It was not. You told Aunt Colleen that Dad called you from a gas station last month. My sister lowered her eyes. Daniel had been dead for 3 years. The room seemed to contract. That is not what I said. Colleen spoke before Lydia could. You said his car broke down near Madison and he needed you to bring the insurance card. I was talking about something that happened years ago. You said it happened that morning. I stared at her. For 1 second, the room blurred at the edges. Not because I was confused, because I remembered the conversation, or thought I did. I remembered standing in my kitchen with the cordless phone pressed to my ear, even though I had not owned a cordless phone in 9 years. I remembered rain against the windows. There had been no rain that day. Lydia watched my face. She saw the hesitation. So did everyone else. That is why we are here, she said. You are frightened, and instead of letting us help, you are hiding. I am not hiding. You left the stove on, the burner switch sticks. You drove to the old courthouse building and insisted your office had been moved without telling you. The old courthouse had closed 6 years earlier. I felt my pulse in my throat. That happened once. You accused a bank teller of stealing your signature card. She handed me the wrong form. You called Aaron at 2 in the morning and asked why he had not come home from school. Aaron finally looked at me. His eyes were red. I was 16 in the story you were telling, Mom. Someone near the back began crying quietly. I hated her for it. I hated all of them. Not because everything they said was false, because some of it was true. And I had built my entire life around the belief that truth should be handled carefully. Lydia picked up a sheet of paper. We have spoken with a neurologist. You have spoken about me with a neurologist. We tried to get you to go. I have a doctor. Who says you missed your last 2 appointments? My stomach tightened. I had not missed them. I had canceled them. That distinction felt important until I saw the room. Lydia continued, we need a medical evaluation. We need a financial plan. We need to discuss driving, your work, and whether you should remain alone in that house. There it was, the house, the first clean object in a room full of emotion. My home was worth nearly $600,000. My pension was secure. Daniel had left life insurance. I had spent my career listening to families wrap greed inside concern. I almost felt relieved. Money was easier to fight than pity. So this is about my property. Aaron flinched. Claire whispered, Mom. Lydia's expression changed from controlled to wounded. This is exactly why we couldn't talk to you normally. You invited 40 people to practice speaking about me in the past tense. We invited people who love you. You invited witnesses. The word struck her. For the first time that evening, Lydia looked angry. You think everything is a courtroom? No, you do. We stared at each other. Then Claire stepped between us. Please, her voice broke. Can we just get through one night without making this worse? I looked at her face and saw something I had trained myself not to see when my children were young. Fear of me, not fear that I would hurt her. Fear that I would make her choose what was real. I turned away. That was when I saw the guest book. It rested on a small table near the hall, surrounded by sympathy cards. The cover was cream linen. Across the front, in silver letters, someone had printed, Remembering Renee Mercer. I walked toward it. Lydia followed. Mom. I opened the book. The first page held a photograph of me laughing at a picnic. Underneath it, my sister had written, "You taught me that strength could be quiet. I hope we can carry yours when you no longer can." I turned the page. A former coworker had written, "Thank you for giving every word the dignity of being heard." Another page. "I will remember your garden." Another. "I will remember the way you protected your children." I stopped. A yellow corner protruded from beneath a stack of unopened cards, not stationery, legal paper. I pulled it free. Lydia moved quickly. "Give me that." I stepped back. At the top of the page were the words, "Petition for appointment of guardian and conservator." My name appeared beneath them. So did Lydia's. Proposed guardian, proposed conservator. My daughter had listed herself as the person who should control my medical decisions, property, accounts, contracts, residence, and access to communication. The room no longer felt warm. It felt rehearsed. I looked at her. "How long?" "This is a draft." "How long have you been preparing it?" "We are not filing anything tonight." "That was not my question," her silence answered. I folded the petition once, then again. I placed it inside my purse. "Mom, that is confidential." "It has my name on it." "You cannot just take—" I laughed. The sound surprised both of us. "You are trying to take legal control of my body, my home, my work, and my bank account, but I am violating your privacy? That is not fair." "No," I said. "It is not." I walked toward the door. Claire caught my sleeve. "Where are you going?" "Home." "You shouldn't drive." I looked at her hand until she let go. Then I picked up one of the memorial cards from the entry table. It was printed with a line beneath my photograph. "Please share a memory of the Renee you knew." I handed it to Lydia. "You should write quickly," I said. "Your version of me changes by the hour." Then I left my own funeral before anyone served dessert. Outside, the November air cut across my face. I stood beside my car with the keys in my hand and tried to remember where I had parked. The driveway was crowded. Cars lined both sides of the street. A red sedan, 2 black SUVs, a silver minivan. Mine was blue or gray. I closed my eyes. I had driven there. I remembered turning left at the church. I remembered parking beneath a maple tree. There were 6 maple trees. Behind me, the front door opened. I did not turn around. Lydia did not call my name. She simply waited. I hated that she knew. After nearly a minute, I saw my car, 3 houses down, dark blue, exactly where I had left it. I walked toward it without looking back. My hands did not begin shaking until I was inside with the doors locked. The petition sat in my purse. I took it out and unfolded it across the steering wheel. The document included a list of incidents. Some I recognized. Some had been exaggerated. Some had been reduced to a sentence so clean it no longer resembled life. Respondent failed to recognize her adult son. I had recognized Aaron. I had called him Daniel because he wore his father's old coat. That was not the same thing. Respondent became disoriented at her workplace. The elevators had been renumbered after construction. Respondent expressed belief that deceased spouse remained alive. I had been remembering, not believing. At least I thought I had. Near the bottom was a list of people contacted for supporting declarations. My supervisor, my physician, my bank manager, my neighbor, my sister. All of them had been discussing me, collecting me, turning my worst moments into a version of my life that could be filed. I had spent 31 years making official records. I knew exactly how dangerous a complete sentence could be when the surrounding silence was removed. The next morning, I went to work early. The Milwaukee County Courthouse looked the same as it had for most of my adult life. Beige stone, security bins, burnt coffee from the kiosk near the elevators. Routine steadied me. I reached my office at 7:12. My key did not work. I tried again, then a third time. The lock clicked from inside. My supervisor, Martin Hale, opened the door. He was already wearing his jacket, though court would not begin for another hour. "Renee." "Why is my lock changed?" His face answered before he spoke. "Come inside." My desk had been cleared, not emptied, cleared. My framed photograph of the children was gone. My transcription manuals had been stacked in a cardboard box. The small ceramic mug Lydia made in 8th grade sat wrapped in newspaper. I looked at Martin. "You spoke to my daughter. She contacted Human Resources, and you believed her." We reviewed several recent transcripts. The room tilted slightly. I placed my hand on the edge of the desk. "What did you find?" "Minor errors." "I do not make minor errors." "That is why we are concerned." He opened a folder. 3 transcript pages were marked in yellow, a date I had reversed, a witness's middle initial omitted. One answer transcribed as 15 instead of 50. My throat tightened. That was corrected before certification, because the attorney caught it. I correct my work. "Renee." The pity in his voice made me straighten. "Do not use my first name like that." "Like what?" "Like it belongs to someone who has left the room." He looked away. Human Resources had placed me on paid administrative leave pending a medical fitness evaluation. My credentials were not revoked. Not yet. But I could not enter a courtroom. I could not access case files. I could not touch the machines I had used longer than Lydia had been alive. I left carrying the cardboard box. At the security desk, an officer I had known for 12 years asked whether I was retiring. I told him no. He smiled too gently. By noon, I had made 3 appointments, one with an independent neurologist, one with an elder law attorney, one with the bank. If Lydia wanted a record, I would build my own. That had always been my advantage. I knew where words became power. My attorney was a woman named Nina Patel. She was 62, silver-haired, and did not soften her questions. "Are you experiencing memory loss?" "Yes." The answer came out before I could protect it. Nina nodded once. "How significant?" "I do not know." "Have you gotten lost?" "Once." "Left appliances on?" "Once." "Forgotten people?" "No." She waited. I corrected myself. "I have confused people with earlier versions of themselves. That is not the same answer." "I know." "Do you?" The question angered me, which was probably why she asked it. I slid Lydia's petition across the desk. "My daughter is trying to take my life." Nina read in silence. When she finished, she folded her hands. "This petition is not filed." "She has contacted my employer." "That could help her." "She held a funeral." "That will not." "She thinks I am already gone." Nina studied me. "Do you think you are?" "No." "Then stop arguing only about her cruelty and start proving your capacity." I disliked her immediately. That was how I knew I should hire her. Over the next 2 weeks, I submitted to every test: blood work, cognitive screening, imaging, memory exercises that made me feel like a child being punished with shapes. The preliminary result was mild cognitive impairment, not dementia, not yet. The neurologist explained that some people remained stable for years, others declined. Stress, sleep, grief, medication, and depression could worsen symptoms. I heard only 2 words: "Not yet." Lydia called 9 times during those 2 weeks. I did not answer. Claire left voice messages. Aaron sent 1 text: "We are worried. That does not mean we want your money." I did not reply. At home, I began labeling drawers, not because I needed to, Because I wanted proof that I could organize my own life. I created medication logs, calendar alerts, a binder with account numbers. I photographed the stove before leaving the kitchen. Each precaution made me safer. Each one also made Lydia seem more right. Then the bank called. A woman from the fraud department asked me to visit in person. When I arrived, Lydia was already there. She stood near the conference table wearing a gray suit. "What are you doing here?" "The bank contacted me." "They had no right. You listed me as your emergency contact. That is not power of attorney." "No, but it is enough when you report that your signature has been forged." The bank manager entered carrying a folder. 2 weeks before the funeral, I had disputed a check for $8,200. It was made payable to a roofing contractor. I insisted I had never written it. The signature looked like mine. The contractor had completed repairs in September. I remembered the roof leaking. I remembered comparing estimates. I remembered choosing the company. I did not remember writing the check. The manager spoke carefully. "The check number matches your register." I do not use the register anymore. Lydia opened her bag and placed a small notebook on the table. "My check register." I stared at it. "Where did you get that?" "In the freezer." The manager looked down. Lydia continued. "You put it behind a bag of peas." "I did not. You called me that day because you couldn't find it." I would remember putting a financial document in a freezer. Lydia's eyes shone. "Would you?" The room became painfully quiet. I looked at the signature again. It was mine. Not similar. Mine. The bank closed the fraud claim. In the parking lot, Lydia followed me. "Give me your keys." "No. You are upset." "I am capable of being upset and driving." "You nearly backed into a pillar last month. There was no damage." "That is not the standard." I turned toward her. "You have been collecting every mistake I make. I have been cleaning them up. I did not ask you to. You never ask anyone." There it was. Not concern. Resentment. Old and polished. "You think being needed makes you weak," she said. "So you wait until everything is on fire and then punish us for smelling smoke. You held a funeral. I was trying to force you to face this. You humiliated me. You taught us humiliation was survivable if the reason was good enough." I stared at her. "What is that supposed to mean?" Her face changed. For half a second, the attorney disappeared. She looked 17. Then she closed again. "Nothing." She walked away before I could stop her. That night, I searched my house. Not randomly, systematically. I began with places I might hide something if I were frightened. Desk drawers, linen cabinet, the locked box beneath my bed, the freezer. Inside, behind the peas, I found nothing. I stood there with cold air pouring over my hands and remembered another freezer, an old one in the garage of our first house. Daniel kept fishing bait in it. Lydia once hid a report card beneath a package of frozen corn because she had received a C in chemistry. I had found it while looking for chicken. Daniel laughed for 10 minutes. "She gets that from you," he said. I had not thought about that day in years. The memory arrived whole. The yellow kitchen, Lydia's red sweatshirt, Daniel leaning against the counter, and behind the memory, something else, a sound, thin plastic clicking against metal, a stenography cartridge. I closed the freezer. Daniel's fishing equipment was still in the basement. I had not touched it since his death. The tackle box sat beneath the stairs, covered in dust, green metal, rusted latch, his initials painted on the side. DM. Inside were hooks, faded lures, weights, old licenses, and 3 Polaroids of Aaron holding a trout. Under the removable tray, I found a cassette-sized plastic case, not an audio tape, A stenography ribbon cartridge. My ribbon cartridge. I recognized the labeling immediately. State versus Keller, June 18th, 1999. My knees weakened. I sat on the basement floor. The case had been sealed in a plastic bag. Inside was a handwritten note in Daniel's blocky script. Keep this. Lydia may need the truth someday. I read the sentence 3 times. Then I remembered the case. Evan Keller, 17 years old, dead after his car struck a concrete divider near Lake Drive. Lydia had been 9. No, that was wrong. Lydia had been 17. My mind had moved her backward. I pressed both hands against my temples. Evan Keller had been Lydia's boyfriend. The police found alcohol in his system. A witness claimed Lydia handed him his keys after an argument outside a graduation party. The witness was Daniel, her father, my husband. I had not worked the criminal hearing officially. Another reporter had. But that reporter became ill during the preliminary proceedings. I covered one afternoon. Lydia testified. I remembered her sitting in the witness chair, white-faced and shaking. She said Evan had taken the keys from Daniel's coat pocket. She said Daniel had confiscated them earlier. She said her father was angry because he believed Evan had been drinking. Then Daniel testified. He said Lydia found the keys and gave them back. He said he tried to stop her. He said she was hysterical and defiant. The prosecutor never charged Lydia, but the town decided she was responsible. Evan's parents blamed her. Students wrote killer on her locker. She stopped eating. She tried to leave school. Daniel told everyone he forgave her. That was the beginning of his sainthood. The grieving father who protected his reckless daughter. I remembered Lydia sitting on the bathroom floor, asking me why her father had lied, and I remembered what I told her. You are confused. I had said it gently. That was the worst part. You were upset. Your father was trying to protect everyone. She kept insisting. I kept correcting. Eventually she stopped. The official transcript from that hearing disappeared during transfer. The court reporter's backup notes were corrupted. The case resolved without another hearing. I had told myself it was over. But the ribbon in my hand was not the official reporter's ribbon. It was mine. I had made a real-time backup during Lydia's testimony. A habit. A record nobody knew existed. Except Daniel. I drove to a former colleague's house that evening. Her name was Marcia Bell, and she still owned an old stenography reader compatible with the cartridge. She looked at the label and then at me. Renee, what is this? Something I should have opened 26 years ago. The machine clicked and hummed. Text began appearing across the small monitor. At first, procedural language, appearances, objections, foundation questions, then Lydia's testimony. I did not give him the keys. My throat closed. The prosecutor asked where the keys had been. My father put them in his coat. Evan took them when my father went inside. Then something I had forgotten. The prosecutor asked why Lydia believed Daniel had blamed her. There was a long pause in the record. Then, because my father had been drinking with Evan earlier. He bought the beer. Marcia stopped reading. I could hear the clock in her kitchen. The record continued. Lydia claimed Daniel had given Evan alcohol because he wanted to seem easygoing in front of Lydia's friends. When Evan became loud, Daniel confiscated the keys. After the crash, Daniel feared civil liability and losing his coaching position. So he blamed Lydia. Not fully, just enough. A confused teenage girl, a grieving father, a dead boy who could not contradict him. The perfect arrangement. I kept reading. My own voice appeared in the backup notes during a recess. Not official testimony. A whispered exchange near the machine. Daniel's voice was faint but legible. You know what happens if they believe her. Then mine. She is your daughter, Daniel answered. Then protect her. Make her uncertain. She already doubts herself. I stopped breathing. Marcia looked at me. What did you do? I stared at the words. I protected the family. Even saying it now sounded obscene. I had not altered an official transcript. I had done something quieter. I had failed to disclose that the backup existed. I let the record disappear. Then I helped Daniel convince Lydia that trauma had confused her. He kept his job. The school district avoided scandal. Evan's parents received a settlement from the vehicle insurer. Lydia survived. That was what I told myself. She survived. But she survived inside a story where she had killed someone she loved. I called Lydia from Marcia's kitchen. She answered on the first ring. Mom? I found the ribbon. Silence. Not surprise. Recognition. You knew it existed. I knew Dad kept something. Why didn't you search for it? I did. Her voice was flat. For years. You knew what was on it? I knew what I said. Why didn't you tell me? A small laugh came through the phone. I did tell you. The words cut cleanly. I told you every day for 6 months. I closed my eyes. Marcia turned away. Lydia continued. You told me memory was unreliable. You told me grief could create false details. You told me Dad loved me and would never sacrifice me to protect himself. I was wrong. No, you were effective. I want to meet. I don't. Lydia. You don't get to use my name like that now. I can prove what happened. To whom? Everyone. Another silence. Then she asked, why? Because it is the truth. No. Why now? I had no answer that did not condemn me. Because now the lie threatened my freedom. Because now I was the person being called confused. Because now somebody else was controlling the record. Lydia understood before I spoke. You found evidence that can save you, she said, and suddenly truth matters. That is not fair. She inhaled sharply. There it is again. What? You always say that when the facts arrive in the wrong order. The call ended. 3 days later, Lydia filed the guardianship petition. My attorney received notice at 8:15 in the morning. The filing included declarations from my family, employer, physician, and bank. It also included photographs from the living funeral. Lydia argued that the event demonstrated the family's unified concern and my refusal to accept assistance. Nina read the petition in silence. When she finished, she asked, Does your daughter know about the ribbon? Yes. Will she dispute its authenticity? No. Then it may establish bias. It establishes more than bias. I told Nina everything, not only Daniel's lie, mine. When I finished, she leaned back. You understand that disclosing this could have professional consequences. I am already suspended. You could lose your certification permanently. I know. Your children may sue the estate. I know. Evan Keller's family may reopen claims. I know. Your daughter may still win limited guardianship depending on the medical evidence. I looked at the petition. What would you do? Nina shook her head. That is not how this works. I am asking. No, you are asking me to become responsible for the moral cost. She pushed the ribbon case toward me. You have done enough of that in this family. The hearing was scheduled 6 weeks later. During those weeks, my symptoms became worse, or perhaps I noticed them more. I found milk in the pantry. I forgot the name of a judge I had worked beside for 12 years. Once, I woke at 4 in the morning convinced Claire was still a child and late returning from a sleepover. I sat on the edge of my bed with my phone in my hand. I did not call her. Instead, I opened the notebook beside my bed. Claire is 31. She lives in Wauwatosa. She is safe. The words calmed me, then devastated me. I began to understand why Lydia was afraid. Understanding did not make the funeral kind. It did not make the petition harmless, but it made her human. Aaron visited one Sunday. He stood on the porch holding a casserole dish. "I'm not here to spy." That sounds like something a spy would say. He almost smiled. Inside, he examined the labels on my cabinets. "You did all this?" "Yes." "Lydia said you refused help." "I refused her help." "That is different?" "Yes." He sat across from me at the kitchen table. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "Dad paid for my first house." I looked at him. "I know." He told me it came from a coaching retirement account. It did. That was also a lie. Daniel had withdrawn money from our home equity line without telling me. I had discovered it after his death. Aaron continued. "He made me feel like I owed him my whole life." "You loved him." "I was managed by him." The phrasing sounded like Lydia. "Did she tell you about the ribbon?" "No. She told us there was something you both refused to discuss." I looked toward the window. "Do you want to know?" Aaron's answer came slowly. "I don't know. It was the most honest thing anyone in the family had said." Claire chose not to attend the hearing. She sent a statement instead. She supported a professional guardian rather than Lydia. That hurt Lydia more than my opposition did. The courtroom was small. No jury, no spectators beyond family, and 2 former co-workers. Lydia sat beside her attorney. She did not look at me when I entered. The judge was a woman named Elaine Porter. She had presided over probate matters for nearly 20 years and possessed the exhausted patience of someone who had watched families use love as a weapon. The neurologist testified first. I had mild cognitive impairment. I remained capable of understanding my finances, medical decisions, residence, and legal rights. I should not drive without further evaluation. I should have support managing complex accounts. My condition required monitoring, not control. Lydia's attorney presented the incidents: the stove, the courthouse, the check, the late-night call, the transcript errors. Each one sounded worse under fluorescent lights. Then Lydia testified. She spoke calmly until her attorney asked why she organized the living funeral. Her face tightened. I needed her to see what denial was doing to us. "Did you intend to humiliate your mother?" "No." "Did you intend to suggest she was literally dead?" "No." "What did you intend?" Lydia looked at me for the first time. I wanted to mourn before she rewrote us again. The judge leaned forward. "What does that mean?" Lydia's attorney hesitated. Nina stood. "Your Honor, that statement opens the door to evidence concerning the petitioner's motive and the family's history of disputed memory." Lydia closed her eyes. The ribbon was admitted. Marcia authenticated the equipment. A forensic specialist authenticated the age and continuity of the data. Then the transcript was read. Not all of it. Enough. Lydia at 17. Her father's accusation. Her insistence. Daniel's whispered instruction. My response. The courtroom changed around us. Aaron covered his mouth. My sister Colleen began crying. Lydia sat completely still. The judge asked whether I had knowingly withheld the backup. Yes. Why? To protect my husband. From what? Consequences. And your daughter? I looked at Lydia. I told myself I was protecting her too. Were you? No. The word felt like stepping off a roof. Lydia's attorney requested a recess. Lydia refused. She remained on the stand. Nina approached her. Did you know your father's testimony was false? Yes. Did your mother repeatedly tell you that your memory was unreliable? Yes. Did that history influence your response to your mother's present symptoms? Yes. How? Lydia looked at me. When she started forgetting, everyone treated it like a medical problem. Her voice trembled. I knew medical language could become a shelter for lies. I knew people could say confusion, stress, grief, trauma, and erase whatever made them uncomfortable. Did you want your mother's money? No. Her house? No. Then why seek control of her legal and financial decisions? Because she never admits she needs help until someone forces her. Did you consider less restrictive options? I tried. Did you? Lydia looked toward the memorial photographs entered as exhibits. I thought if she saw how much of her we were already losing, she would stop pretending. Nina paused. Or did you want her to experience what it feels like to remain alive while your family speaks about you as though your version no longer counts? The courtroom went silent. Lydia's face crumpled, only for a second. Then she answered, yes. There it was, the revenge hidden inside concern. Not money, not power, recognition. She wanted me to feel erased. The judge took a recess. I found Lydia in the hallway beside a vending machine. She stood with her arms folded, staring at nothing. I am sorry, I said. She laughed quietly. You are sorry because there's a judge in the next room. No. You had 26 years. I know. You watched Dad become a hero. I know. You watched me apologize to Evan's parents. I could not answer. Her voice sharpened. I stood in their living room and told them I was sorry for giving him the keys. I believed it by then. I know. No, you don't. She stepped closer. You know words, you know documents, you know what a record says. You do not know what it feels like to wake up and distrust your own mind. That sentence broke something open in me, because now I did, not fully. Not for 26 years, but enough. I was afraid, I whispered. So was I. I thought your father would lose everything. He should have. I thought the family would collapse. It did. She looked toward the courtroom doors. You just made us live inside the ruins quietly. The judge denied Lydia's request for full guardianship. She ruled that I retained legal capacity. However, she ordered an independent financial monitor for 12 months, suspended my driving pending evaluation, and required quarterly medical reviews. It was not victory. It was not defeat. It was supervision without erasure. The judge also referred the transcript matter to the appropriate professional board and district attorney for review. Daniel was dead. He could not be punished. I was alive. I could. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Someone had leaked the history of the case. Lydia walked past them without speaking. Aaron followed. Claire had texted me one sentence. I don't know who Dad was anymore. My certification was suspended permanently 3 months later. No criminal charges were filed because of age, evidentiary limitations, and the fact that I had not altered the certified court record. But the professional board concluded that I had violated my duty by concealing material information. The language was formal. The consequence was not. I packed my machines into boxes. Martin helped. Neither of us mentioned that my hands remembered every key. Evan Keller's parents came to my house in February. His mother was smaller than I remembered. His father carried the transcript in a blue folder. They did not shout. That would have been easier. His mother asked one question. Did our son know Mr. Mercer had blamed Lydia? I don't know, she nodded. Then she looked around my living room, at the labels, the medication log, the calendar. You get to forget, she said. That must be nice. I don't think it will feel nice. No, she replied, but it will still happen. They left without taking the coffee I offered. Lydia did not speak to me for 7 months. During that time, I learned to live inside limits. I used ride shares. I let an accountant review large expenses. I placed a camera over the stove. I joined a memory support group and hated it for the first 4 sessions. Then a woman named Doris admitted she had hidden her diagnosis for a year because her son treated every forgotten word like an eviction notice. I laughed. So did she. It was the first time I had laughed without defending myself in months. Erin called every Sunday. Claire visited, but never stayed long. The portrait of Daniel disappeared from her living room. She did not tell me where she put it. One afternoon in early spring, Lydia came to my house. She stood on the porch holding the cream guest book from the funeral. I nearly closed the door. Then I saw her face, not angry, not forgiving, tired. "I brought this back," she said. "I don't want it." "Neither do I." She entered without waiting for permission. Some habits survive betrayal. We sat at the kitchen table. The guest book lay between us. "I read every entry," she said. "I read enough. Most people wrote about what you did for them. That is usually what people write when they expect someone to die. One person wrote about who you were." I looked at her. Lydia opened the book to the final page. It was blank, except for one sentence in her handwriting. "My mother taught me that records decide who gets believed. I wish she had taught me that love should survive correction." I read it twice, then a 3rd time. "I don't know how to fix this," I said. "I know. I may not remember every part someday. I know. That frightens me." Her eyes filled. "I know." She reached into her bag and placed a small digital recorder on the table. "What is that?" "A better record." She pressed a button. Her voice came through the speaker. "My name is Lydia Mercer. I was 17 when Evan Keller died. I did not give him his keys. My father lied. My mother helped preserve the lie. I loved them both. Those facts do not cancel each other." She stopped the recording. "I made copies," she said. "Erin and Claire have them. My attorney has one. So do you." I touched the recorder. "You do not trust me to remember?" "No." The honesty hurt. Then she continued. "But I don't need you to remember perfectly anymore. I need the truth to exist somewhere you cannot change it." I nodded. That was fair. Painfully. Precisely fair. "Will you be my emergency contact again?" I asked. She looked toward the labeled cabinets. "No." I swallowed. "Not yet." It was not forgiveness, but it was not a funeral either. Before leaving, Lydia removed the memorial card from the front of the guest book, the one that read, "Remembering Renee Mercer." She tore it slowly down the middle. Then she placed both pieces in the trash. At the door, she paused. "I still think you need help." "I do." She looked surprised. Perhaps I was too. "But help is not the same as ownership," I added. "No," she said, "it isn't." After she left, I stood in the kitchen and wrote the date on my calendar. Not because I had forgotten it, because one day I might. Then I opened the guest book and added my own line beneath Lydia's. "I spent my life recording exactly what people said, and my marriage deciding which truths deserved to survive." My handwriting shook. I did not tear out the page. The court gave me back control of my life. The medical reports gave me time. The hidden ribbon gave Lydia back her innocence. But none of those things restored what my silence had taken from us. The judge gave me back my name. My daughter kept the part of it I had lied to protect.